You're watching PowerNation.
Welcome to PowerNation Builds. Today, our Detroit Muscle team is determined to bring that sexy back with one big old cruising land yacht. The big question is can they do it? Find out now. Here's Detroit Muscle.
Oh yeah, girl. You don't know about our 1972 Mercury Marquis Broham. The inside of this baby is big enough for all your friends. And you ain't gonna want us to go. Because when we do, so does the party, baby. But that's not all she's got going on. That's 19 feet of pure fever. Bigger than any car we've ever worked on. This ride floats down the road like an angel on a cloud, and that illustrious 429 sings like one too.
Now, I know that this platform isn't what we normally kick on here in the shop, but we've got some pretty big plans for it, and we're gonna call it the Highwayman.
Now, in order for our Merc to live up to that outlaw name we've given it, it really needs to bring the thunder when it comes to power output. And all of that revolves around this baby right here. This is a 557 cubic inch big block that the guys down in Engine Power built a while back. With this, we're skipping all of the conventional power plant possibilities and going straight to the nuclear option. Just how nuclear are we talking? How about almost 1,100 horsepower?
So needless to say, even with a car this size and that much power, well, this dude is gonna boogie. But you gotta make sure that the rest of the car can handle all that power.
That's right, because the 429 that came from the factory, it's only making around 200 horsepower. And because we're gonna be throwing over 5 times that much power at it, we got some work to do.
The next thing that we gotta do is get all that old junk out of the way. It's not every day that you get to see what a gussied up motor like this looks like sitting in a big old land yacht, but today is the day. Now with that big stroker motor sitting at home looking all nice and pretty, it's time to move on toward the exhaust. Typically you're going to make more power with a long set of tubes as opposed to a set of shorties. And it's an almost guarantee that you're going to make more power with a set of headers than a set of those exhaust manifolds. The headers we chose were for a Torino. In our car, well, it's a full size. They fit, but kind of didn't. Where they didn't is right here where the collector comes out. It's kind of running into or interfering with our cross member. Now, we didn't show you the installation of the cross member, but while we had it out, we went ahead and cleaned it up and sandblasted it because we knew we were going to do some welding on it. And here's our plan of attack. So what we're going to do is cut it across here and across here, remove that piece, and then weld in a big heavy U and move the U up toward the bottom of the floor. A piece of cardboard will make a good shim to keep our new section off of the floor when we mark our cutoff points. Well, we trimmed that thing off to cut off all that excess that was hanging down. Now we just have to set this up here, weld it up, and it'd be that easy. Now that gives us plenty of room for our exhaust, but that'll have to wait till next time.
Coming up, all of the suspension is in the bag for Project Highwayman.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Now today we're getting back on our big Mercury project, the Highwayman. Now if you'll remember, we stuffed a big block under the hood that makes over 1,000 horsepower. And to support it, we've got a built transmission, big fuel system, and exhaust. Today, we're moving on to the suspension, brakes, and rear end.
From the get-go, we weren't real sure what exactly we were going to do on our old Mercury regarding the suspension. Well, we finally pulled the trigger and we decided to put this old girl on air.
There are quite a few things you need to take into consideration when installing an adjustable air suspension like we're going to be running. One of those is wheel and tire clearance. Now, we went ahead and installed the wheels and tires that we're going to be running on the rear of our big old Mercury. Now, we've got our rear end at full compression, which means the car is as low as it's going to be on our axle. There's plenty of clearance in the front, the rear, and even up top, but we need to operate this thing through its full range of motion to make sure there's clearance everywhere because of the design of this suspension. As the axle moves up and down, it's going to move forward and rear of the vehicle.
Now, another common area that you'll run into clearance issues is here at the dry shaft and the tunnel, because whenever that rear starts to go up, so does the dry shaft. So make sure to check it out. We're in pretty good shape, so we can move on.
These air springs, or air bags as they're commonly known, are not a direct replacement. They're actually universal and most of the time need to be adapted to fit in your application. As you can see here, this is a spring out of the rear of our Mercury and it's quite a bit taller than this air spring. But we can't just take the measurement here on the table and use that to make our adapters. It's actually a bit more complicated than that, and it has to do with the specs of the spring. Ours have a maximum height of 12.5 inches, which is full inflation. When you deflate it, it can be compressed down to 2.8 inches. Clearly, ride quality will be diminished drastically at both minimum and maximum height. But there is a sweet spot, which is between 6 and 9 inches in overall height. So to optimize ride quality, we're shooting for right down the middle at 7.5 inches.
We've got our rear end set at ride height, and now it's time to do some math. We know our bag will be 7.5 inches tall, and here we have 9 3/4 inches between the frame rail and this perch. So that means we've got 2 1/4 inches to fill.
Now we could put that all at the top or all at the bottom, or we could put some at the bottom and some at the top, depending on where we want the spring to live. Now for us, we want to put it all at the top, but we are running these 1/4 inch plates both at the top and the bottom, so we'll just subtract 1/2 inch from our measurement, leaving us with 1 3/4 inches, which we're going to cut out of this piece of pipe that we got from a local steel yard.
Then we'll grab the TIG torch and get it tacked to our mounting plate. We'll use a hole saw to make an access hole through the frame and body here. The reason we need to do this is to allow a pathway for the airlines, as well as allowing access to fasten the mounting bolts.
It might take a few attempts to get this lined up the way it needs to be, but it's important because if you do it wrong, you're going to assassinate your bag. Nobody likes that.
We'll get the area prepped for welding with a small grinder. Then we get our upper mount burned into the car. Then we can reinsert that big old bag. While Mark's in the back finishing up that rear, I've been up here doing a little bit of plumbing. Now this right here may look a little bit intimidating, but really and truthfully, it's just time consuming. Let me explain it to you. We've got 8 individual valves, but really and truthfully, you have only 4 circuits. You've got, let's say, these 2 for the front and these 2 for the rear. And how this would work is there's compressed air inside of the tank. You trip this valve, air flows through there, down up to your front bag. And then let's say you want to let it out. It will backfeed whenever you trip this valve and back out, allowing the car to go down. Now to wire them up, it's pretty simple. You've got a ground and then you've got a trigger wire. And this is where your options come in. You can wire them so that you can control them all individually, meaning if you want one corner of the car, or you can, let's say, wire them in pairs so the front comes up, front goes down, same with the rear. Or let's say you can wire all 4 of them together so the whole car comes up or the whole car goes down. It all depends on what you want. Making pancakes is easy if you bag it right.
All right, so we've already done the other side, so we got a pretty good idea of what needs to be done here in the front to get our Mercury laid out on the ground. Now we've already removed the spring and shock, as well as the sway bar, the brake caliper, and the tie rod. So now it's time to get dirty. We need to cut out this old spring perch to provide a good spot to attach the bottom air spring mount. Ooh, that's hot. We're also gonna cut into the frame right here to make room for the bag itself. The upper shock mount goes away as well to access the air lines and bolts.
We're gonna get after those cut points with a grinder to make them look nicer. Plus a bunch of jagged edges next to a pressurized airbag might make things a little bit too exciting. This old fuel line ain't doing nothing but sitting in the way. A quick whooping on this seam will close up the hole and add to our clearance. We need to make sure we have enough room for the air spring with at least 8 inches either direction. We good. Since we sliced up the frame right here, we're gonna weld it back together to keep things nice and strong. After a little cleanup, we can move on.
Time to get that upper mount and spacer welded in. The plate is offset so that we'll have proper clearance when the bag is installed. Everything can go back together now. Looks like we might need to come back later on and replace that ball joint. We'll double check our travel, then tack the bottom mount in. Make sure you pull that thing out before you weld it solid. You don't want to burn your bag, man.
All right, guys, we got everything wired up and plumbed up, and it's ready to see what she's gonna look like sitting on the ground. Now, one nice thing about that adjustable suspension is you can raise it up, lower it down, depending on your personality of the day. Mr. Marcus, go ahead and let's see what she looks like.
Here we go. That's it? Wow, she's low.
Well, we got our bumper on, and now the next task is pretty obvious that our hood's not gonna close. So we're gonna have to find a cure for it. This air cleaner is sticking well above the top of these fenders. The next process is gonna be a little bit primitive, but I think it's gonna turn out just fine. So the first step that we're gonna do is make sure that the engine is sitting in the engine compartment, center if you will, from left to right. And to do that, you just simply measure from the air cleaner stud to the edge of the fender. Looks like we're at 32 1/8. Whenever you're doing something like this, you wanna make sure that you measure in common points.
All right, this is 31 5/8, which is a 1/2 inch difference, which means it's only a 1/4 inch off. Take 1/4 inch away from one side, add it to the other, be in the center.
Next thing we're gonna do is measure from the front of the hood all the way back to the carburetor. I'm setting that just to the side, and I'll do that here, and we're at 34 1/4.
Now we need to account for the gap at the leading edge of the hood, so we're just gonna take about an 1/8 inch off of that measurement. We'll mark it at 34 1/8, and we're gonna use the crown of the hood here as a guide. Now we just need to get those left and right measurements that we took earlier transposed here onto this line. It was 32 1/8, right? Then that's gonna be 31 5/8. Now where these lines intersect, that's gonna be where our stud's gonna come up through our hood. So we just need to make a mark here, drill a hole, then we need to figure out what our radius is gonna be so we know how big our hole needs to be for that air cleaner.
Now that all is gonna be determined by, like he said, how big this air cleaner is. Now we wanna make sure that we give it plenty enough room because that big block is liable to move around a bit whenever we actuate the throttle, if you know what I'm saying. So we wanna give it 2 inches on this side and 2, so we'll just add 4 inches total to this overall measurement. Our overall is 16 1/2 plus those 4 inches of clearance is 20 1/2.
Now we've got this piece of cardboard here, and this is gonna be our tool that's gonna allow us to make that big circle. So we just got a starting point here, and Tommy's measurement was 20 1/2, which is the diameter, so we're gonna cut that in half to make our radius, which is gonna be 10 1/4. So mark 10 1/4. Use our center punch here. All right, so I'm gonna use the drill bit that I used to drill this hole as the pivot point here in this cardboard. That's gonna go there. And just take the pencil through this hole that I made with the center punch. And that's gonna make our mark.
With our circle marked out, we can make a hole to give our saw a place to start. Then it's time for the soothing song of a body saw. Now we are cutting through a little bit of bracing here, but not enough to compromise the strength of the hood too much.
Well, Tom, what do you think?
Well, we caught a little bit of grief over this ride, but I do believe we did all right.
I like it.
We'll take her for a shakedown run, which is going to involve putting her through her paces, but not burying the throttle. You never do that with a fresh build. Once she's got a few miles on her, we can get her back to the shop and make sure everything is kosher. Next time you see her, we're gonna open that throttle up.
Broham Mercy. All right, well, Project Highwayman is finally ready for the big road party.
Well, we've been out riding around in our big body Mercury, and we thought we'd have ourselves a pit stop and see a friend of ours and get his impression of our latest creation.
Hey, Smo, what are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm making breakfast. I'm just joking. I'm making miniature log cabins. Chopping wood, guys.
You may recognize Smo, aka Big Smo. He's a country rapper, musician, songwriter, producer, and film director. You might also recognize him from his TV show called, well, Big Smo.
Broham Mercy. Look at this Merc-mobile. It's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I love it. Oh, my goodness. Well, did it not come standard with that, what is that, a 19-inch hole in the hood?
Well, yeah, we had to cut the hole. We didn't just do that for fun. We needed it, so.
Wow, look at this thing, man.
Makes about 750 horse the way you see it. With a 300 shot of nitrous, it'll make over 1,000. Well, do you want to go for a ride?
Heck yeah, I want to go for a ride. Let's take this thing to the moon.
So you think a big old car like this be kind of slow, right?
I mean, my granny's car was.
Oh, is it like this?
It was kind of like this. Whoa! Whoa!
Was it like that?
She had a lighter foot than you do.
All right, you got to check this out right here.
Oh, serving up them pancakes. I like that. That's the emergency brake. I think we can stop at this church. I feel like I need to say a prayer. God help us in this beastly machine to survive the twists and turns of the road that lies ahead. Amen.
Amen.
I like it that you kept the standard, what is that, an 8-track?
Yeah, 8-track and AM radio works too.
AM, 8-track.
What if we can hear some of your music?
Yeah, probably not on AM.
No?
But I am working on releasing my new single on 8-track.
Really?
No.
Well, we all know this old thing will run pretty good straight down the road. What y'all say us go set up a few cones and see how she does on a slalom?
Yeah, I want to see this thing dance. Let's assess the damage here. Oh, that's right on point. That's point spread. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, we got a little dinger right there. We got a wonky eyelid up here. We're gonna need some duct tape. Well, boys, you built one heck of a car. I'm talking about this is as cool as a car can be.
Thanks, man. That means a lot coming from you because I know you like big cars like this, so.
I do. I love this car. And you know, it really makes me think about a song that I've got called Rollin' that we're gonna be shooting a video for real soon. This car would be perfect for that video.
Oh, dude, that would be so awesome.
Yeah.
We could be in a music video.
Wide open, got the tailpipe smoking. Lane to lane floating, no GPS loading. Cause even when I got no place to go, it's just me, myself, and the open road. And when I hit the I-24, you're damn right, gonna put the pedal to the floor. Out of sight, I'm gone, but baby, I'll be back by dawn. Till then, crank my favorite song, cause I got that clear blue sky.
I'll tell you what, you let me drive this thing, I'll let you be in my video.
Deal.
Let's do it.
Woo! The boys did it again, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's always a transformation sensation. We'll see you next time right here on PowerNation Builds.